Ego is a funny thing. For some, it's a motivator, a way to break through walls and achieve great things, but for others, it's a disease that takes over everything. For these individuals, everything is just another test to prove that they are the strongest, the most masculine, and the most dominant. On Boxing Day of 2022, Cody Fisher, an innocent young man just trying to have a good night out with his girlfriend, would feel the full effects of another's uncontrollable ego after a harmless push resulted in a brutal murder. Cody had made brief, unavoidable contact with the back of Remy Gordon while leaving Popworld, a busy bar in Solihull, on Christmas Eve. Just 2 days later, Cody would be pronounced dead on the floor of the Crane Nightclub in Birmingham, having been tracked down by Gordon and stabbed with a 6-inch serrated blade which was left buried in his chest. This is the tragic story of the murder of Cody Fisher. To the outside world, Cody Fisher was a regular guy. He played football semi-professionally at Birmingham City's academy and taught physical education to local schools in his free time, which quickly became one of his passions. At just 23 years old, he also loved to spend nights out with his girlfriend, Jess, and best friends, Dan and Sam. And on Christmas Eve of 2022, the group decided to celebrate the night at their local club, a Popworld in Solihull. As is often the case, the club proved to be extremely busy, and at around 2 a.m, as Cody and Dan approached the bar to get a drink, they accidentally nudged another individual named Remy Gordon. For most, this accident could be excused with a quick apology, if it was even acknowledged at all. However, the man that Cody nudged into was not in any way reasonable. In response to this harmless accident, Remy confronted Cody and Dan, accusing their actions as intentional. This push, in Remy's eyes, was a challenge to his ego, a test of his masculinity and bravery, and in response, he asked Cody to take their altercation outside. CCTV showed that Cody wanted nothing to do with Remy and stood his ground, refusing to take the offer to settle things outside. Before things got too ugly, someone else was able to step in and separate the pair. But for Remy, the damage had already been done. In his mind, his ego had been shattered into a million pieces. He came out looking for violence and instead left deflated and defeated. He wouldn't forget what Cody had done to him. And so he set out to use his connections to find his rival and get his own back. You see, Remy was not a normal person who contributed to his community like Cody. No, he was in fact part of a group that called themselves the Ravers Assemblers. This group frequently discussed violence, knives, and how to best smuggle blades into clubs. Gordon went to St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic School in Kings Norton, where he met Camy Carpenter, who he would ultimately manipulate and wind up into delivering the deadly knife blow to Cody on the dance floor. In a chilling preview of what would tragically unfold a year later, Gordon was caught with a knife at a nightclub in Manchester in December 2021. One barrister described it as a snide blade because it was disguised in a credit card. Gordon rejected the assertion and claimed he bought it from Amazon to cut the boxes and wires at work. He said it was too flimsy to attack someone with and would just snap. He was ultimately convicted of possessing a bladed article, but did not go to prison. 12 months on from that, and Gordon would find himself consumed with a petty grudge that ended one life and ruined countless others, including his own. So, while walking back from the bar feeling disrespected, Remy found a picture of Cody from social media and posted it to the Ravers group chat, asking if anyone knew of his identity and that he was due to shank him up. Gordon then proceeded to hurl insults at Fisher for the rest of the night, labeling him a posh white boy. At one point, he even messaged the group stating that he wished he'd attacked him with a blade. Sleeping on the incident didn't calm Gordon down in any way. And while everyone else enjoyed spending time with their families on Christmas Day, he was ranting to his friends online as they played Call of Duty. As they played, he expressed a plan to attack Cody from behind. He later heard that Cody would be attending a venue called The Crane to see a DJ on Boxing Day. This was Remy's chance to get his own back. Gordon and his friend, Camy Carpenter, along with other members of the group, proceeded to buy tickets to the event with the sole intention of assaulting Fisher. Before they arrived at the venue, the group disguised themselves with masks and hats and buried knives into their bags. As they entered the nightclub, each member was patted down by security. However, their bags were not searched, leaving their weapons hidden. Gordon had even sent a text to a friend to say the security was weak and staff were not using a handheld wand device. After successfully getting past security, Remy sent a message to one of Cody's friends, Sam Newey, to tell him that he had arrived at the crane in an attempt to intimidate Cody. Cody, however, unaware of the gravitas of the situation, simply ignored the threat and proceeded to enjoy his evening. Later on, Remy approached Sam Newey to threaten Cody, who again laughed off the threats, unaware of the weaponry Remy and Cammy possessed. Tired of failing to draw a reaction, Remy approached Cody again at 11:45 p.m. He again asked Cody to meet him outside, but once more Cody stood fast. In fact, this time he prepared to fight, taking off his jewelry as the groups collided. Before he had a chance to react, however, Cammy smacked Cody's phone out of his hands and proceeded to headbutt him. Just like that, chaos ensued and both rival groups collided in a mass brawl. Amid the chaos, Cammy pulled out the hunting knife he had smuggled into the venue. He swung his hand back and drove the knife into the right side of Cody's chest. Cody fell to the floor immediately, and before anyone knew what was going on, he was dead. Remy then kicked Cody's lifeless body before attacking Cody's friend Dan, who was knocked to the floor. Ironically, Carpenter pulled him away, but only because he saw security approaching. Gordon went to leave but returned to the scene with two other associates. One of them retrieved the sheath to the knife, which incidentally was left embedded in Cody's body. They clumsily hid the cover underneath a road barrier outside the crane, where police recovered it. The 3,500-person capacity nightclub subsequently had its license permanently revoked following the killing, after police deemed the security to be ineffective. One police officer described chaotic scenes at the nightclub. Superintendent Sally Simpson said the club's security guards asked officers to help them with crowd control following the stabbing, while other oblivious staff members were wandering around all over the place and began cleaning up the crime scene, potentially destroying vital evidence. The DJ stopped playing and a warning message flashed up on the club's big screens. Terrified revelers left the nightclub crying and screaming. Despite efforts to save him, the footballer was pronounced dead about half an hour after police were called. Other people at the nightclub criticized the security searches and said that the atmosphere at the club was bad. Upon fleeing the scene, Gordon swiftly organized a meeting at American Slice in Northfield. CCTV captured him laughing and smiling as he mimicked punching and kicking at Cody, despite knowing from social media chatter that he had likely died by that time. He showed zero regret. He also proceeded to call Cody's friend Sam Newey, saying, "I'm not going to lie, I have just banged both your boys out." However, this laughter would not last long, as upon fleeing to London, Remy was arrested. Cammy attempted to escape capture by fleeing the country to Jamaica, but before he could catch his flight, authorities detained him. And under the stress of judicial scrutiny, these two blood brothers would quickly turn on one another. When questioned about his participation in the murder, Remy tried to diminish his involvement. He, for instance, suggested that the threats he made over social media were just a way of venting and shouldn't be taken seriously. He even point-blank denied allegations of planning the murder, asking the prosecutor, "Why would we plan that in front of 2,000 people?" However, these arguments got Remy nowhere. So, putting his own interests before his loyalty, he tried a new strategy, pinning all the blame on Cammy. After all, it was Cammy and not him who wielded the knife, so why should he receive any punishment? Safe to say that the judge hearing the case did not find these defenses convincing. All of the evidence pointed to him as the murder's initiator, and nothing he could say could sway the opinion of the judge. Even Remy's own barrister admitted that there is very little I can say in mitigation for him. When handing down the judgment, the judge stated that it was clear that Remy's ego had been bruised, and as a result, he had made it his life's mission to get revenge. While not the man wielding the knife, Remy was the brains behind the operation, the leader of the group, and the murder's engineer. The judge also admitted that it was unlikely that Remy out and out intended to kill Cody. Rather, the intention was likely to inflict serious harm. Nevertheless, as a result of his actions, Remy received a life sentence with a minimum term of 26 years. Cammy Carpenter was also given a life sentence with a minimum of 25 years. Ultimately, Remy Gordon's inability to control his own ego led to the brutal murder of an innocent man. But it was not just Cody who was affected by this event. His girlfriend, Jessica, was forced to watch her partner lose his life while she could do nothing about it. His brother has been left alone, unable to comprehend the loss of his closest family member. And his mother has been forced to bury her own child and has since been unable to even enter Cody's old bedroom. Remy and Cammy will now have at least 2 decades to contemplate their actions from the confines of a cell. However, no amount of time spent behind bars can ever repay what these two took from Cody's loved ones.